everyone and welcome back to part 2 of leg 17. We're going on the hop down to Inverness. We're at Achnasheen. This is where we left off in part 1 and we're in 37114. This is the Dunrobin Castle. I did notice actually on this livery you'll see a slight typo there of the word castle, which I will feedback. I'm sure that's a quick fix, but yeah, 37114. I'm going to get it out of pause and let me just do that. There we go. Put the hood back on. We're just picking up passengers at Achnasheen. Token and permission to proceed to Garve granted. Next stop Garve until a message appears for Achnasheen or Lochalsh. Book time at Garve 0901. Right, so let's get underway, shall we? The train should all be set up from last time when we came in, so we'll see. Good, we've got the necessary clag. So it's remembered that setting. Right. So we'll get up to the 15. We'll have a quick look at the schedule. Because we haven't got that many stops, I don't think. And this is the very final stretch of the Ambassadors Penzance to not Fort William, what am I talking about? We left Fort William back there. We're going Penzance to Inverness. Oh dear me, I don't even know where we're going now. We're going somewhere. Right, let's look at the schedule. So, we know about the next one, Garve. Again, apologies if I'm pronouncing these wrong. It could be Garvey, Garve. Then we've got Dingwall, Muirvoord and Inverness, due at Inverness at 10 AM. So again, about just under an hour and a half for this section, which is why I thought it best to split it into two. We do have an NRN board here, look. 105. Can we put that in there? That's the RETB. I think we could put that in. 105. I'm assuming that's what that board was. NRN's on 105, there you go, might as well set it. I don't know that it does much for us, but... Right. Let's go, shall we? So we've actually got just under 16 miles to the next station. Got a 40, then we got a 35, and as I mentioned in part 1, on this section of route you do get to drive up to 65 miles per hour in places, so we do actually get to give it some throttle, which is quite nice. So I think this run is 80 plus miles. The whole route is 80 plus miles, about 82 miles. Between 82 and 85, I can't remember exactly. So it's a decent mileage. That's why it's important to split it into two. And as you're watching this, it appears that I've probably run it back to back because these videos are going to follow each other in the schedule, but actually I've had a couple of days in between to do some other stuff and quite eager to get back into this one. This section of the route is a bit less wild, or you'll find it's a little bit less wild as we progress onwards. Let's get that speed onto 35, there we go. So, I asked you in the last video, but I'm going to ask you again, as this is the final part of leg 17, which is the final leg, what's been your favourite so far if you've watched them all? What's been your favourite section? I think there's been quite a bit of Highlands, because I think Train Sim Driver, he was on the West Highland line south and the extension, and covered quite a bit of that. I've done Lochalsh and down to Inverness, so there's been a lot of Highlands. Is Highlands your thing? Or do you prefer the high-speed stuff? I think there's probably going to be a mix of all of you answering that question. If you're to ask me, I like a long run. This is a long run. I like a fast run. This isn't a fast run, but this has got a certain charm about it. So I quite enjoyed doing the Carlisle to Glasgow because it was long, it was fast. We got to drive the sleeper, and but this one's got charm. This one, something about being up in the Scottish Highlands, and as we talked about in part one, really want one of these routes. I don't care which one. One of the Highland routes, I want to come to TSW. I think that'll be a seller in TSW. I wonder if any of these passengers have been with us the whole way. They've been sat at Achnasheen a couple of days waiting for me to start part 2. So 9:03 is when we're due in, based on our current progress. And we probably should go for a drive-by, shouldn't we? I think. So let's go up to this crossing. And we'll just sort of sit around here, I think. You can even hear the rails vibrating. Once again, big thanks to all the ambassadors that have taken part. I know we've all spent a few hours creating the videos. I know you guys will appreciate it. But it's been a good team effort, to be honest. Quite enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one. It is great. I said it in part one, but look how the track is up and down. Because we're looking ahead like that, you can actually see where it's dipping and going back up again. It's just not flat at all. Probably will be once we get to Inverness. But out here, it's a little bit up and down. So sticking to speed can be a challenge. But we'll manage. We'll do it alright. It did say there's potentially a couple of request stops, didn't it? So we'll just see. Fact, is that a platform coming up? Not entirely sure. No, it's not. It's just the scenery. But look at the dip. The dip coming up. I thought that was a platform at first from a distance. That just shows my level of route learning so far. I think I said last time out that I haven't driven this route for quite some time. Apart from just recently having a little test of this scenario just to make sure it was gonna work okay. Which it did, and I was pleased about. But all the scenarios that come as standard, they're all quite long runs, so unless you got absolutely loads of time on your hands, it's difficult to do one full run in one go. But, you know, you might do. It's quite rewarding once you do it. Following the road, as we have been doing the whole time. Well, pretty much the whole time. But we've come inland from the water now. We'll drop into a 20 just ahead, so I'm going to start slowing down for that very gradually. We've still got 10 miles to go. And could be we've got the first of our potential request stops coming up, which is why it's coming down to 20. I think I see the yeah, you can see the old the BR sign there. So this is definitely one of our stations. Let's just see if we get asked to stop. Nothing's been said yet. So this is Achnasheen, or Achnasheen. I would say it's probably more Achnasheen. This guy's facing the wrong way. He's going to miss a tree. We'll make him jump, if nothing else. He never batted an eyelid. Must be so used to these 37s going up and down, they're not a novelty anymore. Right. We can accelerate once again now that we've cleared that station. So we're going to have a recap once again in case you're joining us on this part 2 of leg 17. We'll just recap where we've been on this trip. So just a reminder, so a number of the DTG Ambassadors have gone, well, the idea is to go from Penzance all the way up to Inverness using a combination of TS Classic and TSW to go from one end of the country to the other using both sims, because it's not possible to do it just in one sim. So we've done that. First of all, we were on the Cornish main line in leg 1. That was Penzance to Plymouth. Then we went Plymouth to Exeter on the South Devon main line. Just monitor the speed. Then we went Exeter to Reading, Reading to London Paddington, Paddington to Harrow and Wealdstone, Harrow and Wealdstone up to Milton Keynes. And from there went Milton Keynes to Birmingham New Street, then New Street to Lichfield Trent Valley, and then I did my first video, which was leg 9, and that was on the Trent Valley line, and that was Lichfield Trent Valley to Stafford. I did that in the class 325. Then I was back again on the West Coast Mainline Missing Link in leg 10, and I took you from Stafford all the way up to Preston, and we did that in the wonderful class 86, of course. And then after that, the train simulator driver took over, and he went on to TSW, and he took us from Preston to Carlisle, which was quite good. Then I was back again with the class 90 sleeper service, and I went from Carlisle up to Glasgow. I think that, or the Missing Link, out of the ones that I did, that or the Missing Link was probably my favourites. Once we got to Glasgow, then Neil TV8 took over for a run around the TSW Cathcart Circle. And then we were on the Glasgow subway. Then we went on to suburban Glasgow Northwest, Queen Street High Level to Helensburgh Upper. And then we were on the Highland lines with train simulator driver, Helensburgh Upper to Fort William to Mallaig, and then a short hop on the ferry, and I took over for this run, going all the way from Kyle of Lochalsh to Inverness. So I don't know how many hours content there is there, but there is a fair bit. So if you're coming into this and you've not watched any of the previous legs, they will by now all be on the feed, so you can go back and watch them on demand, or just pick out your favourite sections. There will be a link to the playlist in the description of this video, and certainly all of my videos, and probably everybody else has put it in there as I've not checked, but I would think so. So you can hop across the different legs. But it is a combo of TSW and TS Classic, because compared to TS Classic, TSW is still in its infancy really. So there's not as many places that you can go. So British Ace came up with a schedule, and he's tried to shoehorn in as much of each as possible just to even it out a little bit. But end to end, it's been a cracking trip, and we're not actually there yet, but we're not far off. And I want to see if I can make up some time, ever so slightly, if I can. Because now we're due to be in 3 minutes late. What a cracking run though this is. And once again, look at this, right on this curve. Look how steep it goes. You can see it on the hood as well, but you can see it with the naked eye there. We've still got 7 miles to go as well, by the way. Over the ridge we go and down. Keep forgetting to move that mouse out of the way. May as well show you a little bit more of the exterior. Until it's fine until we get close in. Once we get close in, then we start clashing with the scenery. Probably through this section, actually. But I'll see what I can do. Right, let's pop back in. Hopefully as well, just going back to the schedule, by the way, there may be a few of the ambassadors that you've not come across before. So, you know, this trip as well will introduce you to those guys. And hopefully, you know, you found a couple more ambassadors on there that you quite like watching. So yeah, do give them a follow. Goes without saying. Give me a follow as well. Don't go off and follow them before you follow me. That's important. But yeah, we all do a similar thing. We're all ambassadors, so you know, there's nothing like variety. So yeah, go and give them a follow. If you have a look at the playlist, all the names of the channels are all in there, so feel free to do that. And Dovetail do ask us quite occasionally to appear on their channels as well, so I've been on a couple of times. You've probably seen the British Ace a fair bit, and a few of the others. Usually when there's a sale on or some other event, Dovetail asks us to come on, which is quite nice of them. So, you know, we won't all be unfamiliar to you by any stretch. But you may just have heard of some new ones this time. Right, let's power up a bit, because we are going uphill and we can do up to 40 miles per hour. So and we have less than 5 miles to go until we get to Garve. AP does, I've got the Sky Pack on, but AP also does a vegetation pack, and I don't know whether or not it would make a difference on this route, because I don't know whether it just replaces trees automatically or not. But I haven't got that pack, so these trees are the standard trees and foliage that comes with the route. That is one pack that I haven't got yet. I think this as well is that I'm not sure whether this is the AP track as well. I do have the track pack, but I'm not sure if this is the standard track. I don't think I've seen this colour rail before. I think this is particular to this route, unless I'm very much mistaken. The other thing is, if you are a TS Classic player and you know of some good scenarios for all these Highland routes, do let me know in the comments as well, because I do want to run a little bit more on these routes. And I was searching round quite a bit before this started and didn't find too many. So I'm interested to pick some up. You know, if there's any on Train Sim Community that you know of, or Alan Thompson Sim, or anywhere else, or if you've created any yourself, let me know about that. Just about getting a little bit more use out of all the routes. And I've not learnt yet how to create a scenario on TS Classic. I've done a few on TSW. It's pretty straightforward on TSW. But it seems a whole heap of complicatedness for me on TS Classic, and I've not had the time. Maybe I've just not had the time yet to sit down and properly work it out. But I will get round to that at some point. 3¼ miles we've got. That tree's a bit close to the track there. Wow. What time did we start in part 1? It was 7:10, wasn't it? It was quite early. So we're not far off 2 hours in total across the two legs. We've got about an hour to go till we get into Inverness. We'll soon get into that speed section that I mentioned. There definitely is one, trust me. It's not all this speed. Right, let's get to 35. And it should be quite soon we'll see the station. Right at the bottom of this hill. In case anybody's hidden waiting to cross. We've got the distance signal, so I need to acknowledge this. And And you've got the 15 just outside the station. So I'm going to assume there's a passing point at this station. Bit of a steep drop there on the left, look. You don't want to be going over there. Just release the brake for a little bit. Right, there's the 15 board. The points are set for us. Oh wow, look at these guys. Don't do it. It looks like there's no barriers once again. Look at this guy. Oh, there he goes. He's getting teleported, so we don't need to worry. There's just one or two little bits like that now and again. But on the whole, it's a very nice route. If you can look past that. Right, it's quite a long platform, but we will just walk out the front, I think. There we go. Right, let's get the doors open. Like a fencing business or something over there. Something to do with wood, anyway, which you'd probably expect in the Highlands. There's a lot of it. Token and permission. Proceed to Dingwall granted. Booked in at 9:31. Excellent. Right, so we're good to go. Let's get the brakes off. Put some power in, and we've got just under 12 miles to Dingwall, so we're covering some big jumps on this section, big distances. So we've got Dingwall, the Muir of Ord, and finally Inverness. We're getting crosses against these because we're running slightly late. But as I say in part one, it's just about enjoying the run for this one and completing the trip. Once we're in Inverness, we've done that massive trip. As I said before, I must find the mileage. I must find out how many rail miles it actually is. There's a sign there saying multiple units can do 40. But I don't think this route comes with a multiple unit. I think it just comes with the 37. Unless I've misremembered that. We've certainly not seen any multiple units in the traffic. Not that there is much traffic, because the majority of it is single line. I think we've seen 137. We passed it at Achnasheen. I think that was the only one we've seen so far. As we get to Inverness, you'll definitely see some. You may see some familiar faces down in Inverness once we get there, so you can do a little bit of train spotting. And of course, the road, just before the station, the road has crossed to our right hand side now. We've been following it on the left for quite some time, and now it's crossed over. So sticking with the theme though of running alongside, which will give passengers that little bit of extra reassurance, won't it, in a lot of cases where if it is extreme weather and something happens to the train, they can get picked up quite easily on the road. Well, I'm saying that, the road's going to be out of action pretty much. I bet the 37 can probably get a bit further than road traffic can in those types of conditions. It's got its little, if you look at the front, it's got its little plough on the front, so it'll be able to buffet some of that snow out of the way. Now, if we can keep the pace, we're not doing so bad. We've knocked a little bit of the time off. We're just short of 2 minutes behind as it stands right now, but like I keep saying, it's difficult with the way the track is up and down so often. It's difficult to maintain the correct speed, but we'll give it a shot. See if we can knock a bit of that time off. That'll certainly get us in the good books. Wonder how much fuel, just out of interest, wonder how much fuel the 37 uses on this trip. You know, on a hilly route especially. I've always wondered. Probably got to have fuel depots at either end. I didn't see anything at the Kyle end. Maybe it's got enough capacity to go all the way from Inverness to Kyle of Lochalsh and back again. Not sure. Not sure. But imagine with all this stuff pouring out, it uses a fair old bit of fuel. What we need is one of those Haynes manuals. There is one for the Class 50. A couple of you guys that are regulars have told me you've bought that. I think there's also one for the HST. But I wouldn't mind one for this. Because I quite like the technical information, especially on these older locos. I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but I do quite reading up about stuff like that. Right, we're going uphill again. We are 8.6 miles out of Dingwall. Going through this quite twisty section. Let's keep the power up. Cycle through the views. What a great sight that is. And then as soon as it passes, it's all quiet and tranquil again. We'll just have one more look at it and then we'll hop back in the cab. There we go. Let's get rid of the flies while we're coming up this hill. That's better. We're missing a little bit of windscreen wash, I must admit, but it'll do. Just bring the speed down, just relax the throttle, because we've got a 20 coming up. I'll put a little bit in. I think which has been the fastest stretch, or what will have been the fastest leg that we've done so far, speed wise. I guess just looking now down the list, because I've not watched them all. West Coast Main Line North that I did, we were restricted to 80 miles per hour. Normally you'd go a little bit faster on that, so that was 80 pretty much the whole way. West Coast Main Line over Shat. Train Simulator Driver was doing that in the Scotsman. So I'm not really sure what speed. I don't think he would have got up to Could be wrong because I haven't seen it yet, but I don't think he would have got over, I don't know, I'm going to hazard a guess, 80 maybe. West Coast Main Line south, Milton Keynes to Birmingham New Street. Richie did that one, that could have been the fastest. I'm not sure what he drove on that one. I wonder if he did a 350 or he went in the Pendo. I'm not sure, not entirely sure. So we had a couple of runs in the HST as well. Mega Sim was on the Great Western Express. Now, did he use the HST or did he use the 166? Again, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to take a guess he went in the 166. I just have a feeling. So again, speed-wise, not too fast. So I don't know. By the time I'm watching this myself, I will know the answer to this question, by the way. But if you've watched all of them, do pop it in the comments, and then I'll know if you've watched all of them. We don't want any cheating. See, even when I did the 86, the Class 86 between Stafford and Preston, even that speed was restricted because it was the 86. If I'd have done it in the Pendo, we could have got a bit faster. So right, we got just under 6 miles into Dingwall. I know one thing's for sure, Glasgow Subway and Cathcart Circle, they weren't the fastest. Definitely Glasgow Subway. I don't own that route, by the way. I'll have to look into that. St Enoch to Buchanan Street was leg 13. That was British Ace doing that. There's quite a section on Scotland which was quite nice, because we do have quite a big Scottish catalogue on both sims actually. But in TSW, Scotland is quite well represented. We've got quite a bit on there now. We will be soon venturing into Wales, as we talked about in the previous video. With the Cardiff network. So, you know, once again, I'm hoping that just like we've gone into Scotland, I hope we do the same with Wales, because there's some excellent routes in TS Classic, excellent Welsh routes that hopefully one day will all be recreated in TSW as well. Right, let's keep an eye on the speed. Dropping right back down the other side now. Still a couple of minutes behind the book schedule, but considering how long the run is, I'm not too worried about that. That's not bad, that. Coming up on 4 miles as well. There's another distant signal, so we'll acknowledge that. So we've currently got, if we arrive on time, we've got 36 minutes into Inverness. So we haven't got long to go now until we reach that final goal. And down this end as well, you see the start to get the pink flowers. Maybe it's thistle, as we're in Scotland. But suddenly the route becomes colourful from this section onwards, which I quite like to see. And on the previous run, I did take a couple of screenshots with the pink stuff. I'm calling it the pink stuff because I don't actually know what it is, but looks good. Right, we can actually do 35 now in this section, up to a 40, so let's get back to it. Right, we're under 2 miles. We do have a 20 coming up. So we'll start getting ready for that. Few buildings, few inhabited areas starting to come into view the nearer we get to Inverness now. A few more signs of life than we've seen so far. For these stations as you approach, you do have to get the speed right down. That's where I tend to lose a lot of the time. Getting the speed right on the way in. At least the cars are all waiting at this crossing. The barriers are up on this one. There they go. They're going down now. God, they left that late, didn't they? Wow. If you see that, if you're going towards that and you see that barrier going down, if you're on the road, you know you've got seconds before the train's actually going to arrive. Look, this one's the same. Look at the barriers. There they go. They're not actually down by the time we reach the crossing. Right, we can see Dingwall in the hood, platform 2. So we're just about there. That's a decent curve there, isn't it? Straight round we go. And this will be Dingwall. So then we've got the Muir of Ord, and then finally Inverness. And what I'll do just before we get in, I'll just save it, as I always do. And here's Dingwall. And tantalisingly, you can see that first 65 miles per hour board there on the hood, which I told you about. So we can open her up once we leave Dingwall. That'll do us. I think Dingwall is the first kind of sizable town we've seen for quite some time. I don't know how sizable it is in real life, but the way it's depicted here, there is some distant scenery over there. As you know, with TS Classic, it just takes up resources if you go too far with the scenery. But there's a bit of habitation. There's some businesses over there. We haven't seen many of those yet. on this run. Token and permission to proceed to the Muir Avoid granted. Next stop is the Muir Avoid at 9:40. Alright, good. Let's do it. It's actually in less than 6 miles. At least we get the token every time. I'm going to open her up the minute the back end of the train clears the board. There we go. As a bus races us. Right, so right now we're actually due, based on current timings, 9:42. Just slowly feed the throttle in. It's noisy when it gets going. But we temporarily have to come down to 40, which is a bit of a shame. So we will do that. It's nice to have a little bit of speed after all this time. Right, there we go, nicely down to the 40. Right, there we go, back up to 65. The Muir Avoid is in 3.5 miles. It's a small station. He's got the throttle wide open now. But probably the first time this whole trip. Well, we'll set the power off now for the run down to Muir of Ord. Which is about a mile away. Then we should be straight through after that to Inverness. Of course, I'm not used to braking from that speed, so even getting the braking right is a shock to the system after being at a steady pace all that time, but we should be alright. This is the 15 board, so we're going to be coming in slightly hot. Welcome to the Muir of Ord. Squeal of the brakes tells me it's good to open the doors. Token and permission to proceed granted. Next stop is Inverness at 09:59. Well, it is if you're on time. But we got just under 13 miles to go. So this is it. This is the final hop in this big journey, the big Ambassadors journey. From Penzance all the way through to Inverness. We're in striking distance now. So once again, we'll open up 37114 once we get past the board. Get these final miles covered, and then we'll be out of here. Once again, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed this little trip with me. Part 2's been a little bit quiet. I think I did all the talking in part 1, so hopefully you didn't mind. You got to listen to the 37 a little bit more. Just enjoy the scenery. But yeah, if you got TS Classic, you don't own this route, give it a go. Right, let's pop back in. Build up the throttle. We're due to arrive currently 3 minutes after 10, based on where we are right now. As mentioned throughout the parts that I've done, don't forget to go back and check out the channel, see what else there is you like on there. We've done a full run of the West Coast main line. We've also done the full East Coast main line, Edinburgh to King's Cross. We did that across 2 live streams. If you like the East Coast main line, go and check that out. That was good fun. There's lots and lots of stuff on there. Plenty of TSW, plenty of TS Classic, and a few other things thrown in as well. So go and have a look there. Let me know what you think. And it's like just here, the ballast is taking over the track, look. Must be subject to flooding. They need to get that sorted out if that was real life. Right, 55 first curve. See, this end of the route is just not as wild as I was saying earlier. It's just not as wild as the other end. Things are starting to build up. Another one of those tiny stations. Nine and a half to go. Now these two speeds on the hood are merged. So I think that is 50 and 65. I think that's what it's telling me. Quite fun getting this bit of speed at the end. If you start from Inverness, you'll think the route's pretty fast. Do you get out in the sticks a little bit? So it was down to 50 just for that little bridge that we went over. That's rough. There you go, there's not a lot wrong with that. Quick save point. Got about 9 minutes to go till we're due in. Maybe I went a bit too far in the brakes then. Just releasing them now. Oh dear me. We nearly came to a complete stop then. It shows the brakes are there though if we need them. That's the main thing. Right, we have got around 3¼ miles. It won't be long until we can see the city of Inverness. And a magnificent road bridge which will come up on our left hand side. We do have a 10 coming up, which is really rough. It's going to be one of those little bridges again, isn't it? Well, it's very slow when you've been at 65 to come down to this. Indeed, it does look like we've got a small bridge in front of us that we're crossing. Which is the reason for the tent. Let's clean the windscreen. That guy checking his watch. He's checking up on us already. It's actually a swing bridge, that, isn't it? There's the bridge that I was telling you about, the road bridge. And Inverness, you can just see poking out over this side. So we'll open up the 37 just one last time. And after all these miles and all these different legs across different routes, we are down to our last mile. So I'm just going to close the throttle. And we're due in at Inverness, platform 6 in a couple of minutes. It's a great way into Inverness, isn't it? Up here, with all the houses either side. I don't know what came first, the houses or the railway. Obviously these houses are a little bit more modern, but there could have always been houses there. But that's a great scene with the port there in the background. So welcome to Inverness, everybody. Yeah, 37 over there on the left-hand side. There's a couple. There's one here on the approach as well. Now one of these could be 112, which is the unit that we are. I say unit is the loco that we were meant to use in this scenario. If you were doing the standard scenario, that is, that came with the route. But we changed it to 114 for this trip. We've got 025 over there. Can't see quite what that one is. 011. 035. And this is Inverness Station, which we need to be careful of because it has buffer stops right here. So we're going to come in platform 6. Just bring it to a stop right here. Let's have a look inside if we can. Let's get the doors open. Is it going to let me do that? It wants me to go forward, doesn't it? It doesn't want me to cheat by 0.01. So we'll just edge forward very slightly until it changes to 0. There we go. Let's get the brakes on. We'll open the doors. So there we go. That is the end of the Ambassadors trip. I want to say a couple of shout outs. First of all, big pat on the back to all the ambassadors that took part. We've all put a lot of work in. I'm sure you guys appreciate it. And of course, the second thanks that I want to say is to you guys for watching this playlist and sticking with us throughout the whole thing. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been a fun trip. Do leave us comments. You can either do it on this video or on any of the videos in the series. As it comes up and tells us, well done driver, now perform the shunt move in part 2. So all the services on this normally do follow on. So we're obviously not going to do that. That is the end of the trip for us, all the way from Penzance up to Inverness. Again, hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun to do it. Take care everybody, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.